Hola, muchachos. Sorry, I'm in my a makeshift office slash classroom slash bedroom at our house, so it's a little cramped in here. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about, or this video is going to talk about the verb gustar, and I put two things up there. I put to like, and then I put underneath it to be pleasing. When you directly translate this verb, it means to be pleasing, and I'll show you how that works. It makes a little more sense once we get an example sentence up there. But a lot of times you'll hear me say the equivalent phrase in English is this. Like, for example, when we talk about the verb tener, when we say tengo 15 años. If you directly translate that, it's I have 15 years, which doesn't really, that's not the way we say it in English. So I'll say the equivalent phrase in English is I am 15 years old, which it's called an idiom, where it doesn't really make sense when you do a direct translation. You have to understand what it means and how you would say that same thing in the other language. So gustar is one of those. But it does, again, if you're using the verb gustar, you are talking about things that you like. That's the way we say it in English. And so that's the way I'm going to write it, even though when we do a translation, that's not what it means. But anyway, okay, so we'll go through some phrases here. We're going to list them in English, and then we'll say how to say them in Spanish. And then we gotta add something else over here. So let me slide this over a little bit so I don't have to reach as far. Okay. So our English ones, it's I like. Sorry, my arm kind of gets in the way there. I like. You like. Remember, we have two different ways to say you. So that'll make more sense in Spanish, but we have the to form, which is with friends and family, and the usted form, which is with more formal. So we're going to put you like up here twice. You like. Then we'll put he likes. She likes. Now, those are all my singular ones. And then we'll say we like. Now we'll switch over to my plural. So again, these are all coming off of our subjects that we talked about in the last video. You guys like. And they like. Okay? So those are all the different ways that we're going to say use gustar over here. So the I like is me gusta. You like is te gusta. Now, these three all have the same one. So I'm going to put little parentheses there, little bracket. So these are all le gusta. If you notice, my gusta doesn't change. It's just these here, me, te, and le. And these are what we call indirect object pronouns. Okay, so we like is nos gusta. And then these two are the same. So this would be les gusta. Okay. Now, so the gusta is going to stay the same for whatever sentence you're trying to write in this section. And then the me, te, le, nos, and les, those will change depending on who it is. Okay? Now, I'm going to go to these gustas. I'm going to put a little n in parentheses. And those are really the only two forms of gustar that we use, gusta and gustan. Okay, gusta is singular. So I'm gonna write this out here if you want to write it at the bottom. So we use gusta if it's one, if we like one thing. Can you still see that? Let me scoot this over a little bit. One thing or an activity. Okay, so for example, if you like ice cream, you say me gusta el helado. If you like eating French fries, even though French fries is plural, you're still talking about the activity of eating them, so you'd still use gusta. Me gusta comer las papas fritas, okay? If you just say, I like French fries, now we've taken the activity out and we're saying, I like the thing, the French fries, and that's plural. So then we're going to use gustan. Gustan equals more than one thing. When you like more than one thing. I like sports. Okay, you'd use gustan because sports is plural. But if you say I like to play sports, now we changed it to an activity, so we're back up here at gusta. Okay, so that's the difference between gusta and gustan, and those are only two you will use. We don't use gusto or gustas or gustamos or any other forms. Although they do exist and they can be used when they don't make any sense with what we're doing. Okay? Okay, so there's that. Let me erase this. Now, there are little phrases that we add in here to emphasize or to clarify who it is that we're talking about. And I call them the ah phrases. Okay? So let's use red here. So if I'm talking about myself, just to make sure everybody knows I'm talking about myself, I would include a little phrase called a mí. So sometimes you'll see that we'll say like a mí me gusta. It's not really necessary for this one or the te or the nos because it can only mean one thing. So a lot of times if we use it, we're just clarifying or we're emphasizing that I like it. For te gustan, it's a ti. Notice this me has an accent. A ti. We don't need an accent on that one. Now these, we have three different ones over here, so that's how we're going to be able to clarify. Because if you just say le gusta, we don't know who it is. We don't know if you're talking about you in the usted form, or he or she. So for you would be a usted, and I'm going to abbreviate this one. He is a él, and she'd be a ella. Okay? Now remember, with El or Ella, that we could actually put the name in there. So we could say a Miguel or a Estela. We could actually put a name in there instead of replace the El or the Ella to clarify that we're talking about like, oh, he likes it, which he and which she. Nos gusta would be a nosotros. I'm kind of getting off track here, so let me draw an arrow. A nosotros. And then les gustan, again, we'll need to clarify. So the a ustedes would be, sorry, the you guys would be a ustedes, and I'll abbreviate that one, UDS period, and then they would be either a ellos or a ellas. Okay, remember the ellos when it's plural and masculine is it's either all boys or a mixed group. Boys and girls. Ellos would be all girls. Again, if one boy shows up, then we switch to ellos. Okay? So if somebody says muchachos, that's all boys, or a mixed group, and they say muchachas, it has to be all girls. One boy shows up, we switch to muchachos. Okay? All right. I think that's about it on gustar. So let's do a sentence. All right. And hopefully everybody's got that written down. If not, pause the video. All right, let me show you. Let's do a sentence. And then I'll show you how this really works with to be pleasing. So let's say you're trying to say, I like sports. Okay, and since sports is plural, we put a gustan. And then if we're going to change this to I like to play sports, me gusta jugar los deportes. Okay? So once we change it to an activity, now we will go back to gusta. Take the activity out, we'll use gustan. All right, now here's where this comes in to be pleasing. Because me does not mean I, right? So in English we'd say I like sports or I like to play sports. But in Spanish, me, it means me. So this doesn't really make sense if you do a direct translation. It does, however, it does if you remember that gustar means to be pleasing. Then you kind of do it backwards. So you say sports is pleasing to me. Okay? And playing sports is pleasing to me. So if you think of it that way, then it makes more sense to be pleasing, and then you translate this to be me. Okay? Not I. But again, the equivalent phrase in English is to say I like. Okay, that's our verb gustar.